Fine. So this is multi-node setup. Okay. In multi-node setup, we will have, yes, you need to pay attention now, right? Okay. So in case of multi-node setup, we already have one node set. Okay. So Hadoop node is set up, and this particular Hadoop node, if you will enter inside it, you will see what components are there. Resource manager is there, node manager is there, name node is there, secondary name node is there, and data node is there. Correct? So this is the setup already you have. Now what you need to do is you need to add slave, because your master services, they are already here. So if your master services are already in one machine, you need not to have two masters running. Okay, because one machine it is already there. So what setup you need to have is you need to have a setup of one more instance of CentOS, and this instance of CentOS will have only your data node and node manager. Okay, so data node and node manager, only these two things should be there. Fine, clear? Okay, so here going to our virtual machines, we have this setup, HD setup. So this HD setup is your one virtual machine which is having all the services installed. So I am starting it, and at the same time here from file I am creating a new virtual machine, because that virtual machine will be the slave machine. So new virtual machine. Next, all the settings are already there. Okay, like you can see the minimal CentOS is already selected. Next, so I'll name it as slave. Okay, for understanding purpose, slave name I'll be giving it. Okay, so this machine is now called as slave, and next, next, finish. So this will install. Okay, it will take some time, so let it get installed. By that time, let us understand what exactly are we going to do. Okay, so now you need to follow this document. Okay, in this document you need to understand how to read also. Okay, how to read and understand the document. So here if you see, yes, so to CentOS installed in VMware Workstation. Okay, so to CentOS installed in VMware Workstation. In our case, we are still installing. Okay, one is already installed and one we are still installing. The name of this CentOS is Hadoop. Okay, so I'll put the username as root and password as HD. So here the machine name is given as Hadoop, and second machine name we will be giving the name as slave. Host name also plays important role, because we will be configuring the etc host s file and etc host name file. Okay, that is something we will be configuring with the host name, so that the machine is clearly identified with the host name itself. We need not to remember the IP addresses all the time. Whenever you have to change IP address, you need to change at one location only, and at rest all places you can use the host name. So that is making it easy for you that wherever required you can make use of host name actually, instead of using the IP address, which is difficult to remember. Okay, so two CentOS installed in VMware Workstation. So we are installing one more. Provide the CentOS instance with name as master and slave. In our case, one is basically Hadoop and another is slave. Okay, so one machine's name is Hadoop, another machine's name is slave. Okay, in your case, if you have given some other name, so just remember you will have to replace the master by whatever name you have given. This is something you need to remember. Okay, fine. Installation process is given here as a document which you already know. Okay, so we are skipping this part and we are directly jumping over to the first descriptive section. Let's go there. Yes, this is all installation part. This installation, if you see, this is a kind of installation which is the desktop genome installation of CentOS, we are using minimal version of CentOS, okay, because we wanted to practice on minimal version. This is desktop version with UI. Now, step number 2 is access your machine without a password. This is important. Okay, so this needs to be performed on both the master machine as well as the slave machine. So now the step number 2 needs to be performed on both. Okay, now what to do? Let us see that. Here diagrammatically you can see that machine A is there and machine B is there. A machine we need to generate key and we need to send that key to B so that B is having the authentication key of A. Similarly, you need to generate a key from B and you need to share it with A. Are you getting? It is simple logic. For example, if we want to get authentication before anybody can enter the classroom. So for that authentication, let's say I generate a key, a password, okay, and verbally I tell it to you. So whenever you are coming, you need to tell that password, then only you will be allowed. Okay, so you need to tell that password. Secondly, we thought everybody is coming and verbally telling that password. This is not secure. So what we will do? We will give a chip where the password is already set up. Let's say we will give RFID chip where the password is stored. So as soon as you will come, you will just scan your RFID and you will enter. So something like that we are doing here. Okay, instead of typing the password every time and authenticating it, we are just sharing a key so that whenever that machine is getting in connection with the other machine, A is getting connected to B, that time what will happen? You need not to manually type the password. The machine is already having the authorized key and it will directly get the access to the machine B. I believe everybody is getting what is the objective we are talking about. Passwordless access, passwordless authentication, we are talking about that. Okay, the commands are given here. Okay, so you can see these are the commands. Just a second, something happened. Okay, yes. So the commands are given here: SSH keygen -t DSA -p, password is blank -f, the file is tilde / dot ssh id underscore DSA. So inside id underscore DSA there will be a key generated. Okay, this key we will be sending to the authorized keys. Okay, so understand, authorized keys is a file where the authentication keys needs to be stored. So for example, in CentOS1, okay, just a second, let me just make it yes for all. Okay, let it get installed. Yes, we will work here. So here let us see if the IP, yes, IP is same. Let me start putty. Let's make a connection. So 192.168.133.131. Okay, so username root and password is HD. Okay, let me change the appearance here, change settings, appearance, and let's make it little bigger. So 20 we can keep and bold we can keep. Okay, all right. So here for this machine also, like if I run the start all.sh or if I run start yarn.sh, so it asks me for password. Okay, you can see it is asking me for password. I'll put the password and then it is starting the services. Okay, now it started the services. Okay, so I want it should not ask me password. That is my objective. So authentication will apply to the same machine also and will apply to any other machine connecting to this machine. So that key, we will be putting the generated key into which file? Authorized keys. Okay, so there is one file, right? So authorized keys we will be putting under that. Okay, and that file of the same CentOS and that file of other CentOS also. Okay, let's do it here first. Okay, so let me make the terminal small so that I can refer to the commands. Okay, fine. Yes, so the command is, now for SSH keygen I need to check whether this SSH keygen is there or not. So it is there, you can see it is there. If it is not, we would have to install it. Okay, but luckily it is there. So SSH keygen -t DSA -p and then single quotes without any space -f then tilde sign /.ssh and id underscore DSA. Enter. So it has generated one key. You can see it has generated one key. Okay, now I have to transfer this key from here to authorized keys file. So there is a file called as authorized keys. If there is no file, that will get created. Okay, if there is no file, then it will get created. Let us see whether that file is there or not. ls tilde /.ssh, enter. So here we don't have that file. id underscore DSA is the file we just created now. Okay, and there is id underscore DSA dot pub. There is a file called as known host. I'll give you. I have one. So, so we don't have that file. Authorized keys file is not there. Okay, so that will get created. Fine. Let us run the second command. Cat command we use for displaying some content, but that command will also help us to append the data into a file. Okay, the same command will also help us to append the data into some file. So cat, and now which data we want to cat dot ssh and id underscore DSA dot pub. Okay, so the data inside this file we want to append. If I just run this much, it will display. This is a key. Okay, this you can call it as a public key. Okay, now I want this data to be appended. For appending, you need to put these symbols. Okay, now it will append it in another file, and that file is tilde /.ssh, and I'll create a file authorized underscore keys, authorized keys. Okay, now inside authorized keys the data is appended. Okay, let us do ls once again. ls tilde dot ssh, dot ssh. So dot ssh, it is a hidden file. Okay, hidden folder. So you can see authorized keys has come there. Okay, the first file. Okay, now let us try to run a command. Okay, before that I'll change the permission. Okay, so chmod 0700 tilde /.ssh and authorize keys. Okay, now let me perform start dfs.sh. So earlier it was asking me password. Now I'm just checking whether it would ask me password or not. Okay, so you can see that it has started name node running as a process. Stop it first. Okay, fine. So we need to check whether it is asking the password yet or not. So if it is not asking password to us, in that case, yeah, it is not asking password. So in this case, this key can be shared with any other CentOS operating system. Then that CentOS operating system can also connect to this one without any additional authentication. You got it right? So the authorized key we have used for the same machine also, and the same authorized key we will be using for other machine also. Fine. Now let us do JPS and let us check whether the services are running or not. So it did not ask us the password, which is good. Okay, that means successfully done. Okay, so it is slow due to some reason, no worries. By that time, let us check the other machine. It is getting installed. So parallelly what we will do, we will create a user here. We will name it as slave only. So slave and slave slave. Okay, so done. So you can see that for one time I clicked on done, it did not do anything. The reason is because I have put the weak password. So double time if I click on done, it completes it. That is basically I want, let it be. Okay, let the easy password be there. Okay, so therefore you need to click 2 times there. You must have observed this thing. So it will take some time to get set up. Okay. Okay, so some network error was there. Okay, no worries. Now we will make a reconnection. Restart the session. Okay, let's go here and check ifconfig. Okay, if you see the IP address is same 133.135, it is changed, right? The IP is changed now. Okay, so normally at runtime it should not change, but the IP is 135 now, and that is the reason now it is not getting connected. Okay, this putty. So the IP got changed. So yes, it was 131, but now the IP has been changed. No worries. We will make a new session and we'll make it like 192.168.133.135. Okay, enter. So we'll make a new connection. So because we get dynamic IPs, okay, so therefore this thing is expected that your IP may change. So root and password is HD. Okay, and let's do JPS. So yeah, all services are not running. So let me run stop all.sh. Hopefully it won't be asking. Yes, it won't be asking the password now. Yes. So here I would like to highlight an error which is being visible here, and this error normally comes. Now IP has been changed, and in the etc hostess file, the old IP is still there in the etc hostess file. So therefore, it is not able to. Okay, therefore it is not able to identify here no root to host. This error you may also find. Okay, so what is this error? When IP has been changed, then you need to go to vi etc hostess. Okay, and in this file you need to update the IP. You have to change this 131 to 135. This is important. Otherwise, once you are starting the services, it will look for the previous IP, and there is no as such machine you have now. Okay, so now you need to run stop all once again. So it won't give you this error. Okay, no root to host. That error won't come. Clear, right? So that is a point to be noted. Okay, you need to remember this part. Now it is not showing that thing here. Okay, it is not showing us that no root to host. It is stopping everything, and if something is already installed, that is great. Okay, done. Now let us check JPS. No service is running. Okay, no service is running. Now again start all.sh, enter. So this will start everything. We have updated the IP, so everything should be successfully and properly started. Fine. Now one more thing you need to do. Okay, Windows R and drivers. Again you need to update the host file with the new IP. Otherwise it will also not be able to understand with the previous IP. So I'll go to edit with notepad++ and I'll change the IP address here to 135. Okay, so here 131 becomes 135. I'll save it. After saving it, I'll copy this file and paste it into the etc folder of Windows. I'll go here, go to etc, and here you can paste it. Replace the file, continue with admin privileges, and after this, let us go to the browser, and here we will see the name is Hadoop. So Hadoop colon 50070. Okay, So here we should be able to see in some time once we have configured. We'll be able to see here in this page. Let it get loaded. Yes. So here 17.77 GB. So once we will have two nodes, what will happen? This 17 will become 17 plus 17 approximately 34 GB. Okay, because another machine's data also will be calculated. Okay, and here we have only one node. We will be able to see two nodes. Okay, so that is the objective we want to achieve now. Fine. So let us go back here and see. It is still taking time. No worries. Okay, let us go to the document and let us understand what you need to do so that you can also do. So this step you have to do in both the machine, okay, and then we have to exchange these with the two machines, okay, like the ID underscore DSA, that content. Fine. After that, here is the file you can see, okay, etc sysconfig network. Here we have to put networking is equal to yes, then host name master. So we have given host name as Hadoop. Okay, so we won't be changing this to master. Then after that, here IP address and slaves IP address. Okay, in which file etc host s. So in our case, if you see, let's do JPS. So name node, data node, secondary running, resource manager, node manager running. So all are running. Now vi slash or vim slash etc hosts file. So here you can see only Hadoop is there. We need to add the slaves address also. So slaves address would be something like 192.168.133, and here something would be there. I don't know. I have to check, right? So let's say I'm just putting 134 as of now and slave. So this file needs to be in both the machines. etc hostess file is basically, it is telling that the IP address is this, but you can call it with a alias name, that is slave. Okay, you need not to use IP address all the time. So this configuration needs to be done. So we'll update the slave's IP after some time. Then etc sysconfig network, let us go to this file. Okay, so vim slash etc sysconfig network. Okay, and in this file we need to put networking is equal to yes. Okay, so here networking networking, okay, is equal to yes. So let me see it back again. So yes, yes, and let me remove the comment. I have removed the comment and save the file. So this file we have put networking equal to yes, and host name, okay, yeah, host name already we have set. So vim slash etc host name. So already we have given Hadoop as host name, so we'll keep it as it is. No need to change. This we will have to do once the slave is installed. So we'll have to wait for some time. Okay, no worries. So let's wait for some time by the time the slave gets installed. Yes, so let us finish this. This setup is done. Let me try login, root, and the password is slave. So I am able to log in. Now you already know that here you will not get ifconfig. So ifconfig you will not get. So which commands you have to run? nmcli commands, right? Initially. So nmcli, yes, nmcli con show and nmcli con up ens33. Now IP ADDR. So I am getting the IP 192.168.133.134. Okay. So I will be connecting now PuTTY terminal to this as well. So let me open another PuTTY. New session 192.168.133.134. Yes, now if you see here, this one is My slave. Yes. So this is something you need to pay attention, then you will be able to understand. Correct? Yes, you need to pay attention here. Is there also? Okay. So I hope you are not confused between the shells. Yes, everybody, I hope you are not confused between the shells. Okay. This terminal is my master's terminal or Hadoop's terminal. Okay. So once again I am saying you need to pay attention to this in order to understand. Otherwise you will ask me the same questions maybe 100 times. Okay. This is my machine, which is Hadoop's machine. You always need to look here, root at the rate Hadoop. You'll identify this is my Hadoop's machine. So this immediately easily should get into your minds that whatever I am working on this terminal will be actually Hadoop's work. Okay, Hadoop's machine's task. Here you can see it is written root at the rate localhost. I'll be changing up the host name here and I'll be making the host name as slave. So you'll be able to identify this machine as root at the rate slave. That will make it very easy for you to look at the terminal and identify that on which machine I'm working currently. Okay. So the first thing vi or so vi slash etc host name, and here I'll change the host name to slave, and the IP address is this. So I'll use this IP address and not this only. Let me cat slash etc hosts file. I'll copy both the IP addresses and the host name and I'll put it in the vi slash etc hosts file. I'll remove this and I'll put this data here. I hope you understand what I did. So I have changed the host name and I have added the IP of Hadoop machine also with the Hadoop's alias name here, so that now, one second, so that if I want to ping Hadoop, I should be able to ping Hadoop. Okay. So I need not to type the whole IP address and it is able to ping Hadoop. Okay. Similar way, if I want to ping the same machine, okay, that is slave, so that also I'm able to do, okay, without any challenge. So why I'm able to do this? Because I have mentioned the IP address, space, the name of the machine, okay, and therefore that name I'm able to use it. Otherwise I'll have to type the whole IP. So multiple times I have repeated this and I believe this concept has become very clear in everybody's mind. How the machines are getting connected? By putting the IP addresses into the etc hostess file, and how we are making it easy by giving an alias name over there by putting a space and the name of the machine. So we are directly using the machine's name, host name, okay, while using the ping command. And this machine's name only we will be using in the wherever XMLs or somewhere we want to put. So we will be using these names only. So this is how we are making it easy for us itself. Okay, fine. This much is done. Okay, now let us follow the document. So the document says that the steps I had performed in the first machine, these steps, these needs to be performed in the second machine also. So in the second machine, that is the slave machine. So before performing the steps, I will do init 6. Okay, can anybody tell why I am doing init 6 for this machine now? What is the reason? Yeah, I'm restarting because I just want that this root at the rate localhost, now we have updated the host name. So once I'm restarting it, so that time it will pick up the host name from the etc host name file, and whatever configuration files or log files will be generated, they actually pick up the host name. So they will be picking up the host name as slave only. Okay, so that I just want uniformity. It was not compulsory, but I want uniformity. That's why I have restarted it. Okay, so you can see that the machine is getting restarted. Okay, same set of commands we have to run. Okay, these only for the same machine, and then we will move further. Okay, let it get started. Okay, so almost it is started now. Done. So root and slave slave IP addr. So yes, I'm getting the IP address. So therefore it is good. I can just right click and say restart session root and slave slave. Okay, it is done, connected. Okay, so now I'll just take all these and directly put there. Okay, instead of typing, I'll recommend you to type. Okay, so that you remember the commands. So I have put them here. It is generated, the key is generated, and the key is copied in the authorized keys file. Okay, for which CentOS? For itself. Okay, are you getting? So both the CentOS can access themselves without any password now. Okay, any service want to start that doesn't require password. Now what we will do? Okay, this part etc sysconfig network, here also we will work vi/etc sysconfig network, and we will make networking equal to true here. So networking networking is equal to yes, and save it. Okay, then next part after this, yeah, so after this next part we have is host name we have to keep. So vim host name already we have kept. Okay, let's just cat host name etc host name, so it is slave, and in fact host as also we have configured, so no worries. Okay, we have already done this part. Okay, moving towards next. Okay, now sysconfig network we have done, host name we have done, host s we have done. Now this part, look at this. So from the master machine you have to run this command, from the slave machine you have to run this command. Okay, so from the master machine you have to run scp. Okay, scp is secure copy to a remote server. Okay, understand? Till now we were using the FileZilla software, and from our local machine we were able to upload any data into the CentOS, okay, which we assume to be a remote server. Okay. Now similarly you can send some data from your CentOS to another Linux system with the help of scp command. Okay. Look at this command scp and the file you want to send, to whom you want to send that file, and where you want to store that file in that particular server. Okay, so I'll run this. Okay, so here scp, this is secure copy. Let me clear screen so that you can clearly see that. Okay, look here, scp secure copy. What do you want to copy? /.ssh and id underscore dsa dot pub, this file. Okay, so this file you want to move it to which server? Root @ slave. You want to move it to which server? Root is the username, @slave is the machine name. In that machine, where do you want to copy it? So we are saying you copy it inside temp, and you name it as id underscore dsa underscore hadop Hadoop. Okay, so Hadoop's id underscore dsa file you are sending it there. Okay, dot pub, this file you are sending there. Are you sure you want to connect? Yes. It will ask for the password. It did not ask for the password. Okay, yes, it did not ask for the password because one mistake I did. Can you identify the mistake? What mistake I did here? So I had to run this command from master to slave. I have run this command from slave to slave. Okay, so that's why it did not ask me for password. Okay, so this command I need to run from this here. Okay, once again I'm running scp, and then I need to write tilde /.ssh and id underscore dsa dot pub, and this I need to send it to root @slave colon /temp id underscore dsa underscore hadoop. Okay, and dot pub, enter. Okay, so connect, yes, it will ask for the password slave, enter. So the file has gone there. Okay, so what I did, I have sent the authentication key of Hadoop to slave. Is this clear to everybody? I have sent the authentication key of Hadoop to slave now. Okay, Now what next I am going to do? I am going to add this file into authorized keys of slave. Understand from here. Okay, the command is also given here. You can see I will be taking that id underscore okay public file into here, this particular authorized keys. So cat command is used. Okay, cat slash tmp id underscore dsa, this file I need to copy it. Where I need to copy it? Dot slash dot ssh and authorize keys. Done. Okay, so now let me try to do ssh and hadop Hadoop. Enter. Yes, it's still asking for password. Fine, no worries. So the password is hd. Okay, so understand now what happened. ssh Hadoop, I'm trying to log in Hadoop from slave. Look at this place. Okay, this is important, you need to understand this. So root @slave, I'm inside slave machine. Okay, and from slave I'm trying to do ssh Hadoop, I'm trying to connect to Hadoop. Okay, login Hadoop. So it allowed me to log in, but it asked me for the password. Now you see here root @Hadoop. Are you able to understand what is happening? From slave machine now I have gone into which machine? Hadoop's machine. Yes, master machine, Hadoop's machine. I will exit. You can see connection closed to Hadoop. Connection to Hadoop closed, right? So I have came back to slave machine. So now what we have done, we have shared the key of which machine? Hadoop machine, master machine to slave. Okay, so now let me go to Hadoop machine and try ssh slave. Enter. It did not ask me for the password. So now the logic is very clear. Key generated by Hadoop is sent to slave. Now Hadoop can access slave. Similar way, key generated by slave needs to be sent to Hadoop so that slave can easily access without password to Hadoop. Clear, right? Okay. So let me exit from here. So I have come back to Hadoop. So now I need to send the key from slave to Hadoop. Okay. So scp and tilde dot slash dot ssh and id underscore dsa dot pub. This file we will be sending to root @Hadoop colon slash tmp and id underscore ds. This file. Enter. No, it was wrong. Okay, so let me control X, control Z. The name should be slave. This is just a nomenclature. Okay, nothing wrong will happen, but just to be safer. And HD is the password. It has been transferred there. Let us go to Hadoop's one, and here we need to copy it. So cat slash tmp id underscore dsa underscore slave. Copy this into tilde dot slash dot ssh authorize keys. Enter. Now from slave ssh Hadoop, last time it asked me for password. Enter. It did not ask me for the password. Is it clear? Right? So step 1 is good. It is done. We are able to access machine 1 from the 2 and 2 from the 1 without any password. Okay, right? Okay, let me exit. Okay, I have come back to slave now. I'm clearing the screen so that it doesn't. Okay, so first part is done. Now let us move ahead. Are we all good with this? Yes, no? Yes? Okay, I guess only 2-3 people are good with this, others are not. Okay, conceptually did you understand what we did? Okay, yes, you may watch the video once again. Okay, you will have to do that because you are doing it for first time. Even experienced people, they have never explored this if they are not doing working on Linux. Even they take 10 times sometimes, to do this. So don't worry. Okay, so you are better than those people. Fine. So now let us move ahead. Okay, and now what to do? Yes, this you already know. Okay, all this stuff you already know, that we need JDK and all. Okay, so all this stuff you know, right? But we need to perform on which machine? Slave machine, because master already we have. Okay, so what we will do? Okay, I'll quickly do these things because in the masters I'll go to home. So already we have Hadoop and JDK tar here. So what I will do? You have learned SCP command now, so I'll transfer them. SCP and JDK, where I'll transfer root at the rate slave, okay, and colon slash let's say where slash root, okay, here we will transfer, enter, okay, it is transferring. And let us go to slave, okay, cd tilde ls, JDK is here, correct? It's simple, right? It's very simple. Now, what is the next step? Tar hyphen, you must have remembered, tar hyphen xvf JDK, it will extract. By the time it is extracting, let us transfer other file. So scp hadoop and root at the rate slave colon slash root slash enter. So Hadoop it will transfer, and we have the JDK folder here. We will move it JDK 1 point something. We will move it to user local Java. Okay, and we know that we need to update the etc profile. Okay, so we will just copy from the previous one, and the same we will put here. Okay, JDK done. Let us do ls user local Java. Okay, we have the folders, and even the Hadoop has successfully transferred. So let's extract tar hyphen xvf Hadoop. Let it get extracted. By that time, what I will do, I will transfer scp slash etc profile. Okay, I'm doing shortcut. I'm not editing that file. I'm directly transferring this file because this profile file is same all across the CentOS. Okay, so etc profile, and I'll send it to root at the rate slave, then colon slash etc profile. Okay, enter. You got it what I did? I did a shortcut. I have sent the file directly to that place. Okay, that slave. Let us do cat slash etc profile. You are able to see the last lines. All Hadoop and Java things have come here, right? Now, so you are see source slash etc profile. Okay, before source, let us run JPS. Is the JPS working? No. Okay, so source slash etc slash profile, enter. JPS working? Yes, JPS is working. Okay, so quickly, this is shortcut. You need not to copy paste all the time. Okay, we already have. I have transferred those files. It is done. Next thing, now XMLs. Okay, which XMLs? Hadoop XMLs. Okay, that also I will transfer. Okay, I'm not editing them. For practice purpose, okay, you can edit. So here we have Hadoop. Let me first move it. Okay, so MV Hadoop and user local HADOOP Hadoop. Okay, so CD slash user local and CD Hadoop. So all the folders are here, and here I need to go to etc Hadoop. Okay, and here I need to edit the files Hadoop env.sh, sdfsi.xml, then core.xml, mapred, yarn.xml. So these 5 things I need to edit. So what I will do, I'll transfer them from here. Okay, I'll directly transfer. So scp, okay, let me write it, scp, then slash user local Hadoop. Okay, let me do one more thing. Okay, slash user local Hadoop etc Hadoop. I'll do star dot star. What I did? Star dot star. All the files, take them from here, put it there. Okay. So root at the rate slave colon slash user local Hadoop etc Hadoop. So inside Hadoop, all the files transferred. Fine. So nothing I did. I just transferred all the files because already we have done the configuration. Fine. Now whatever new configuration additional is required, only that much we will do. Okay. So all these files got updated. Do you want to check? So cat coresci.xml. It was empty initially, but now you can see the name node is Hadoop is the name node and 9000 is the, understand? Name node is in which machine? Hadoop machine. So here also core site will have name node's address. So Hadoop colon 9000, this is name node's address. Okay. So all the configurations are perfect. Okay. Now let's go to the document. Okay. So extract the tar we did. Configure the Java, yes we did. Okay. After that Javac, yes, all done. Then install Hadoop, done. Okay. Only some configurations we will check. This much, this is done. etc profile updated, Hadoop path in the Hadoop's directory updated, XMLs updated. So all these things are updated. Yarn updated. Okay. Format the name node. We had already formatted the name node. Okay. So you can do one thing. You can set up everything like multi-node cluster and then format the name node. That is also fine. But Hadoop allows you at runtime you can always scale up and scale down. You can add more machines or remove machines. That is allowed in Hadoop. Okay, so we are not going to format here. Understand? Okay, format is only for one time. So we have already formatted. That machine will get added now. Okay, in some time that machine will get added. Let's see now. Let's move ahead. Now it is asking start the DFS, start all the processes. Okay, it is asking for that. Okay, but before that, let me do one thing. Okay, so here this is root at Hadoop. Okay, so pwd I'm inside /root. So let me go /user local Hadoop and /cd etc Hadoop, and here you will see some slaves file. Yes, so here you can see slaves file. This is slaves file. Okay, so what we will do, vim and then slaves, and here it is written only localhost. Okay, so what we should do is we should write here. Okay, so here we should write Hadoop, because in the Hadoop machine also we have slave services and slave. So in these two machines we have slave services. Okay, so what I have written, slave also I have written here and Hadoop also I have written here. Like in which machines the slave services are running. In this machine also data node is running, and in slave machine also we want data node to be run. So I have written both the names here. And similar way in this slaves wala also vi slave, and here I'm sorry. Yeah, so vi slaves. Okay, so here, yes, so we will write Hadoop and slave, two names. Now let us try starting the services. Okay, JPS, all the services are running now. So let me do stop all.sh. Observe what you are able to see in the display. Okay, stopping the name node, starting the name node. Okay, observe those things. Those are also important. Okay, so you can see Hadoop stopping name node, Hadoop stopping data node, slave, no data node to stop. So it is interacting with slave also. So that means the machine has started interacting with slave as well. Okay. So now after stopping, we will start once again all the services once. Okay. Stopping yarn daemons, stopping resource manager. Okay. Slave, no node manager to stop, because nothing is there, still nothing is there. Okay. Now we will run start all.sh. Okay. Now we are starting everything. Okay. So in the slave, if I type JPS, okay, so only JPS I am able to see. Data node started in slave. Okay, from where? From the master machine, right? So you need to run command on one machine only, and the same machine is automatically starting the services in all the machines. Again, this is beautiful. Okay, you need not to go to each and every machine and do the same thing. Okay, so here data node is started and it is starting resource manager and node manager now. Okay, so sorry. So you can see data node and node manager have started here. You are able to see, right? And here if we type JPS, here also we will see the name node, secondary name node, data node, resource manager, node manager, all are available here also. Okay. Now let us go to the UI, this UI, and I'll refresh the UI. So here we have live nodes 1, we should be able to see live nodes 2. Look here, 17 ka it became 35. Why? Because one data node around 17 point something, another data node 17 point something. Together the cluster storage size has increased. Okay, 35 GB it has become. And here we are able to see live nodes. We have two live nodes now. Okay, so two live nodes are up and running. So here you can see slave is one live node and Hadoop is second live node. Look at this. Okay, slave 500, this is one, and this is Hadoop. Okay, 134 is the IP address, 135 is the IP address. Okay, so clearly we are able to see, and capacity is 17.7 GB, and the capacity of the second machine is also 17.7 GB. Okay, setup is successfully done, right? And let's see the applications page also. So Hadoop colon 8088, this is our applications page. Okay, so whenever we will be running a job, so here we will be seeing the job status, but at the same time we will be able to see the job is running with the help of two nodes. Okay, instead of one node, the job will be running in two nodes. Okay, so here if we see a default running state, okay, memory available 8 GB. Okay, fine. So here we are able to see only one node. Okay, so in this one we are able to see only one node. So I need to check just a second. So here yarn env slaves we have put here. Okay, so this I'll just check. Okay, why two entries are not here. Okay, so for storage we have successfully able to configure two nodes. Okay, now whatever data you will be storing, that data will be going into two nodes. Okay, at the back end. Fine. So just one more thing to check. Do you remember we had configured where the block should get stored? We had configured that vim hdfs site.xml. So here you see this one dfs.data.dir. You are able to see dfs.data.dir, the directory /storage/data. Let us go to /storage and /data. cd/storage cd data, and inside this we will be able to see whatever we load, whatever we upload in the Hadoop cluster, we will be able to see those files are getting stored in the form of block in these folders at the back end. So nobody has access to the back end. Now we have set up, that's why we have the access. Otherwise nobody has access to the back end, but we can explore that. So cd current, inside current, this is the block pool ID. We had spoken about block pool ID also. We had discussed that name node gives block pool ID for the purpose of storing the blocks, whatever files are coming through that name node, they will be stored under this folder. So cd this block pool ID, and here we have again current. Inside current we have finalized. Okay, so inside finalized we have subdirectory 0. So subdirectory 0 we have another subdirectory 0, and here we have the blocks created. Okay, let me cat it. We had put some file. You remember we had put one test file first day. This is test file to be loaded into Hadoop. You can see that has been stored as a block here. You are getting what is happening? So look here. We had uploaded one file. Browse the file system. We had uploaded one file under the data directory test.data. Okay, and this test.data directory, okay, so it is stored as a block here. Fine? Not fine, I know. Okay, so this is stored as a block here. Let us upload one more thing and then see, okay, how that file. Now I will be uploading something from slave, okay, from here. So cd tilde, and here I'll create some file. Okay, here some anaconda cfg is there. Let's upload that only. Yeah, something is there inside it. So hdfs dfs hyphen put anaconda / data. Inside data we will put it. You're getting, so that file we are uploading inside data. So let us refresh this. That file is here, right? That file is uploaded, and now let me perform ls here. So here we are able to see only one block. Okay, in this master node, if you see one block, and in slave I'll go storage data. Here also cd current, then block pool ID, then again current, then finalized, then subdirectory. Okay, this part you need not to remember. One block created. Okay, cat blk, the same data is there. Okay, what happened? I uploaded anaconda.cfg file. That file got uploaded here. You can see this is the file just now I uploaded. Okay, and this file, this particular file, if you see, okay, is stored as a block here. Here, if you see, this is the block created at the back end. So the concept which we had discussed, that file stores in the form of blocks, but the file size is so small that it was stored into one block only. If the file size is very large, then you will be able to see that the file is getting stored into multiple blocks. Clear, right? Okay, so this is just what is happening at the backend. I told you. Fine. So this is multi-node cluster setup. Okay, you can refer the document and start doing it. Okay, what happened? Okay, yes, you will be able to do it. Okay, yes, start doing this, and you can do one more thing. As I said, 4 people. If you want, you can create a cluster of 4. You may get connected to one mobile device and just try to ping. First thing, try to ping each other. If you are able to ping each other, then only you include that machine. If the machine is not able to ping, then resolve that first. Okay, it should be able to ping. Are you getting? If the machine is not able to ping, then what will happen? You'll not be able to configure it properly. So first resolve the issue of pinging. Okay, fine, alright.